So, some of you may know, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, that I have recently launched my Patreon. Woo, 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 woo. If you are not aware or familiar with what Patreon is essentially a subscription service where creators like myself can upload, share, and host exclusive content that will only be accessible to those who are paying a membership fee. So, over on my Patreon, which can be accessed via patreon.com/the Slumflower, I have a one-tiered system. The tier is called the Disobedience Deviance because the purpose of the Slumflower Hour podcast is to create a domain for disobedient women who date men. But I want to take that disobedience even further to a place where we don't have to deal with other people having issues with the discussions we're having. Hence the Patreon being born. So over on my Patreon, I host workshops. I share real-time insights and ideas based on dilemmas that people have DM'd me. I also make room for people to vote on various topics that I discuss, both on the podcast that is publicly streamed on streaming platforms like the one that you're probably listening to right now, and also private podcast episodes that only go on the Patreon. I also have a dilemma manual available on my Patreon, which is a 65-page guide that will give you insights on whether you should keep or leave that guy. Yes. And if you were amongst the first 100 subscribers, then you will have seen that there was an ebook accessible to just you and the 99 other people, which is Patriarchy's Worst Nightmare, Volume 2. That ebook isn't meant to be out till January 2024. So those of you who got hold of it are very, very lucky because you have an early iteration of what is the ebook that's coming out in January 2024. And that edition that comes out in January 2024 will be the extended version, which if you were amongst the first 100 patrons, you will be getting an exclusive and free copy while everyone else will pay £10. So if you are curious about my Patreon and you would love to be a part of it, patreon.com/the Slumflower. It is a £10 a month subscription. There is only one tier, and I chose to make it £10 a month because I wanted to make it at a price point that would be accessible to as many people as possible. Not to be biased here, but I do think that if you're not on my Patreon, you're missing out, babe. Like I'm spilling tea. I'm going further into ideas. I'm speaking more about my personal experiences, and I'm sharing things that are a little bit more radical than what you already see on my grid. And if you have at any point seen my social media comments section, it is a dumpster fire of men losing their minds over me equipping women with ideas to help them raise their self-esteem. But then amongst the dumpster fire, you will occasionally see women also shooting own goals, playing on the wrong side of the pitch, working against their own favor, playing the wrong game and losing, because a lot of us are still under the conditioning that we need to make ourselves as agreeable to men as possible and that we can't live without men loving us. So that's the purpose of having the Patreon. And if you're considering joining, I look forward to seeing you. Please come join me. Come join the Disobedient Deviants. And let's cause a ruckus, why don't we? I would love to talk about raising your self-esteem while putting yourself out there. Those of you over here on the Patreon voted for this topic by a landslide. It was a vote between raising your self-esteem while putting yourself out there versus getting back into dating out after being out of the game for a while or not having dated before. I was really surprised to see that most of you wanted to hear me talk about raising your self-esteem while putting yourself out there. So we are going to today discuss raising your self-esteem while putting yourself out there. Let's go. While I'm surprised that this is what people voted for, at the same time, am I really surprised though? Because self-esteem plays a huge role in dating. And I do think as women who date men, we all encounter self-esteem issues at some point. It is normal. And it's not anything to be ashamed of. So let's dive in. First of all, what is self-esteem and where do you get it from? So self-esteem can be defined as having high confidence or just a presence of confidence. Doesn't even have to be high. Having confidence, believing in yourself to a certain degree, trusting that you have a place in this world, knowing yourself, feeling worthy, knowing when to walk away from something that doesn't feel right. All those things contribute to what it means to have self-esteem. But a lot of women who date men don't happen to have self-esteem or high enough self-esteem. And I would go as far as saying that that is the root cause of a lot of issues that women run into. I get a lot of DMs from women. I'm not going to lie. Some of the DMs I get, I just be reading the first line and the bottom line. Because what's in between the first line and the bottom line is a lot of going round in circles. And usually the first line identifies what the issue is. It could be, this guy's blown hot and cold. This guy dumped me. This guy cheated. I'm not sure how I feel about this guy because X, Y, Z. And then the last line will usually be, what do you think I should do? Do you think I overreacted? I'm not sure how to feel. Now, where I say there's a lot of waffle in between is because I've noticed women do this thing, very often. And I get why it happens. It's still annoying though, but I get why it happens. Women tend to do this thing where we will spend so long working really hard on inching closer and closer to finally getting to that eureka moment of realizing, oh, that's exactly what's happened. Oh, light bulb. I get it now. Everything makes sense. We get right to the front of it and then we do a U-turn and turn around. It's like, girl, you were almost there. You almost had it. You were right there. The answer was right there under your nose and you just turned away. And now you've rerouted. And now you're just in another destination that we had no business being in because you didn't follow your gut. Not only did you not follow your gut, you didn't follow your reasoning. You just abandoned everything and just went for what felt more convenient and what felt more comfortable and what felt more familiar. And usually what feels more convenient, comfortable and familiar is what men want you to believe about yourself. It is actually way easier to believe what men want you to believe about yourself than it is for you to believe what you want to believe about yourself. So, when we revisit this example I just made of almost getting to the point and then doing a U-turn, it's like when women vent about scenarios where, they caught a guy cheating, they feel really hurt about it, they're not really sure what they want to do, should I keep him, should I leave him? Still feel hurt about it, don't entirely trust him, but he says he's sorry. Not sure what to do. It's like, okay, there are multiple options here. Of course, there's the option of leaving. But if you are a trained veteran in wickedness, there's the option of staying, getting revenge, and then leaving. But when we expand what revenge looks like, to me, revenge isn't always cheating back. Sometimes revenge is just taking his money and then still leaving and then still being with someone else. It's like in this life, you'll come across great chess players, okay? But nobody is born knowing how to play chess. You learn how to play chess. Men are not born being patriarchal. It is taught to them in their early years and when they're out in the world. No matter how hard you work to raise a young boy to be as accountable and responsible and emotional in the way that every human being deserves to be, and you raise him to have empathy and you instill values of respect and service to others, he can still go out into the world and be influenced by other people. So all your hard work is like partially undone anyway. So that's where I feel like the chess is learnt. That's where I feel like the patriarchy is learnt in the minds of these young boys who eventually go on to become the men that we run into and at some point date. But women are not taught to play chess. We're not even invited to the room when the chess is being played. We're told, oh no, you're not smart enough to know how to play it. Or no, this is a boys' game. It's like, well, actually, I'm using chess as a metaphor for playing the game to get leverage in a relationship, because men are always going to be playing a game with you. If that man is not playing a game with you, it's because you've both reached a healthy equilibrium in your relationship where trust has been established and he no longer has any reason to try and one-up you because he's got you. But what he's done to get you, and by getting you, I mean you're comfortable with him, you know? Like, there is mutual care and respect. You're both in love, it could be argued. He doesn't have to play a game to get you there. He doesn't have to play any mind games to get you to have sex with him. He doesn't have to play any mind games to get his needs met, basically, because he's in a safe environment with you and because maybe he's a gentleman to enough of a degree to not have to go about getting his needs met in such a shiesty manner. But most men are not gentlemen. Most men are going to go and play in the game. So if you want to raise your self-esteem and you're dealing with men, you're going to need to accept that a game's going to need to be played on your end too. And I know, oh, I don't like playing games. I'm a genuine person. I don't believe in playing games. I believe in being yourself, being your true, authentic self. Because when you play games, then how are you going to ever have anything real with anybody? Because when you play games in the beginning of a relationship, it means that the relationship is never going to have a real foundation. So you're here, being Miss Truthful Tabitha, meanwhile, the guy you're engaging with has been lying, okay? And the thing is, his lies ain't even malicious lies. Like, he's just creating an atmosphere to prime you for what he wants from you. Like, most times when men lie, it's not that deep. And for me, the reason why it's stopped being that deep when men lie is because I've learned how to lie like them. So now it doesn't feel like anybody's lying. Feels like we're even now, because you only feel betrayed when you overinvest. Yes. You only feel betrayed when you told the truth and someone else lied. Yes. You only feel betrayed when you followed the rules and the other person didn't. But who said you had to follow these rules in the first place? Because if it's men telling you to follow rules that they're not even following, then why are you following those rules? Men aren't even setting the example that they want to see. And these are people who are positioning themselves as authoritarians in the world. Like, they can't lead nothing, bruv. Like, that's why I be so confused when women are like, you know, when you ask them, well, why do you want a boyfriend? Because I want someone to lead me. I just want a man who's going to just take the lead. Lead you to where, Miss Livestock? Lead you to where, Catherine the Cattle? Lead you to where, Sheila the Sheep? You don't have Navigator on your phone. You don't have Google Maps. You don't have City Mapper. Which one is lead? I need a man who's going to lead me. I want to know where everybody has been wanting a man to lead them. Where has that man led you to? I would love to know where you guys are going. Because if this is the promised land and I'm genuinely missing out on something, please put me on. Like, give me the coordinates to this promised land and I'm sure I'll find my way there by myself. What do you mean lead? Lead? For someone to be a leader, they must first be a follower. For someone to be a leader, they must be a good listener. When have men been good listeners? Because if men were good listeners, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in right now, would we? This podcast wouldn't need to exist if men were good listeners. Because the reason this podcast exists is in response to a world where women don't feel listened to enough of an extent where our lack of being listened to is costing us our lives. This is deeper than just banter and cussing men out. Like, this is actually a matter of survival for women. That's why I'm very serious and passionate about this work. And that's why I get very heated when women are like, I want a man to lead me. Oh, because this is part of the self-esteem thing. It's the idea that somebody else still has to have a level of dominion over your life for you to get where you want to go. No. There are other ways to use men to get where you want to get to without them having power over you. That's the place we want to get to. Because I do think that healthy relationships with men can exist. I do think that men can love and you can be loved by a man who wants to love you. You can't make a man do anything. You can't make anyone do anything. All you can do is have self-control, choose where you place yourself, and decide how you react to things. And I think the idea of seeking leadership qualities in men is a sign of low self-esteem. Because it's like, if we're seeking leadership qualities from men in the context of relationships, that's like the worst place to choose to seek that leadership. It would be different if you wanted the leadership of men in a field that is largely dominated by men and you want to get into that field. Let's say, for example, like, you know, we're still seeing a rise in women occupying space in tech. It could be that you want to have a career in tech, so you might shadow or intern under the wing of a man who is in a position that you might one day want to be in, because the men who are in the positions that you might one day want to be in far outnumber women who are in those same positions. So the likelihood is it's going to be a man who you will shadow in your workplace. That's different. He's leading you to a tangible place where you will have a position in your career that will allow you to have success, money, whatever achievements that you desire in that field. Like, there's a tangible, clear route you're following and it makes sense. But if you want a man to lead you, especially in a relationship, first of all, why do you believe men are qualified for that? Like, I'm not doing that. I'm actually not doing that. That's like assuming that because somebody knows how to drive a boat that they can just fly a plane. Like, you just let a sailor fly a plane for you because you saw him doing this. You saw him twisting the wheel of the boat and you thought, wow, such dexterity he has. Wow. Look at the flick of that wrist. Wow. He seems so confident in navigating these choppy waters. Oh my goodness, a manly man. And then this same man with his overinflated confidence now tells you that he can also fly a plane, and you just believe him because you saw him driving a boat. The next thing you know, you lot are anyway. So it's like, look, when it comes to raising your self-esteem in the context of putting yourself out there for dating, there's going to be a lot of ideas that you're going to have to throw away. I remember when I went to art school. Well, I should say fashion school. I went to London College of Fashion, studied a degree there. And I remember they told me, like, everything you learnt prior to this is wrong. And they identified what we weren't taught properly and showed us a new way of thinking. I want to say similarly, everything that you know and believe about how you should maneuver when dating men is probably wrong. What are those things? Well, we just touched on seeing men automatically as leaders, i.e., believing that they can fly a plane just because you saw them driving a boat. And that is metaphor for you saw him having muscles, so you automatically think that he's going to be a man who is going to lead and protect and guide you. And it's just like he's just a mere reflection of what desires you project onto men. That man could be a hologram for all you know. A spiritual hologram. That man could just be any kunle, and you've assigned qualities to him that, one, never existed, and two, will probably never exist. He probably has no desire to evolve beyond what is already comfortable for him. Yeah. Another thing that you probably believe about men that isn't serving you and you may need to abandon is the idea that, and we've touched on this before, if you've been listening to the Slumflower Hour podcast, then you are familiar, probably, with how I feel about men lying. I.e., men lie all the time. Men are not as honest as you are because men are not raised the same as you. You prioritize honesty because that's what was drummed into you, and that's what your inherent goodness as a human being is measured against. How good are you at being taken advantage of? How much of a good girl are you? Whereas for men, they don't have to uphold that. Where do you see consequences for a man being called out for lying? Yeah, he might get dragged, but like he can still go on to have a career. Like life goes on for men always. Men have 9 lives, literally. They're like cats at this point. So yeah, the idea that men are going to be truthful all the time, you may need to let go of that idea. And the reason why I want us to talk about letting go of a lot of preconceptions and ideas about men is because that's what's going to help you raise your self-esteem. When you start to see men more accurately for who they are. Because this isn't about like making men look like bad people. They do a good job of doing that by themselves. I'm just describing what I'm seeing. It's more about when you are more in line with reality, you take things way less personally. It's not about you. So yes, learning that men will lie. Just like I said, learning that men are not necessarily leaders. Another thing that you may believe about men is probably not true and is not serving you is, I'm even laughing in preparation of saying this one because I feel like there's going to be pushback, but it's like the idea that you have to be this like beautiful, perfect, flawless person for the best man in the world to like me. I have to be a Victoria's Secret model. I don't know how to say this politely, but men have little to no standards. You don't even need to be that good looking to find a man who's going to treat you well. Do you know how freeing that is? Can we just sit with that thought for a minute? I think we need to sit with this one. You don't actually even have to be that good looking for men to desire you. But to take it even further than that, you don't even have to be that good looking to find a man who's going to take care of you. And I know a lot of girls will hate to hear that because there are people who put so much effort into their appearance, so much effort into trying to be the girl that will be picked, so much energy into blending in with what men want, you know, so much energy into not being disruptive in any degree. And that shit don't work. That shit ain't serving you. Okay. So you need to let go of the belief that you need to be this like Amazonian goddess for men to treat you well. No, you don't. You need to be someone that just keep yourself clean, make an effort. That's all you need to do. That's it. Be tidy. Yeah, you don't need to go get surgery. I do not encourage surgery. I'm not against it. I just wouldn't go out of my way to encourage it. I'm not saying never to anything. But right now, I can say, based on the context of what we're discussing right now, you don't need surgery in order for a guy to treat you well. You don't need to be born with the luck of having desirable, socially, what's the word, like socially revered features in order for a man to see you as unique enough for him to want to love you. Remember that you have a brain too. Okay? Like, just remember that wittiness, intelligence, sarcasm, personality, those all add context to the human being that you are. When I tell you men will wank inside of socks, I mean it. Okay? So there's no point in beating yourself up thinking, oh, but you know, Chidi is just saying that. She's just saying that you don't have to be perfect because that's the right thing to say. But she doesn't know that, like, oh, but what if you're not pretty? And what if look, I am, I will use myself as an example, yeah? I'm stunning. I'm beautiful. But I don't necessarily, like, if I was to remove all of my tattoos, right? If you walked past me in the street, like, I look like a lot of black women, and I'm okay with that because black women are beautiful. Like, I am similar. I'm like the black equivalent of the white girl I was describing who just looks normal. Like, I look normal, fam. But my tattoos make me stand out. You know, there's things about me as I've gotten older that I've made little alterations. You know, or I should say modifications, not alterations. You know, modifications. Tattoos are a form of body modification. So I've made choices that have made me stand out. So if someone walks past me in the street, they are most likely going to double take because my tattoos look crazy. Crazy in a good way. I love it here. But minus my tattoos, I'm very normal looking. Still beautiful, but like, I don't look like what's like a black girl who has a really, really unique face. See, like Anok Yai or Ryan Destiny or Justine Sky. And these are all dark-skinned black women I'm mentioning, by the way. Like Masai Martin, Aweng Chul, like all these black girls who just like their faces just look. There's something about their features that's just like, wow, I've never seen anything like this before. I don't elicit that reaction from people without my tattoos. So I know what makes me unique. And it's cool, you know, like accepting that you don't have to be the most beautiful person in the room to still get the attention of the person who wants your attention. This is really important for self-esteem because I feel like sometimes when people are trying to raise their self-esteem, they go to the extreme of trying to become this like completely opposite thing to what they are and what they're used to, when actually it's just tiny changes that you need to make. And those tiny changes can take you really far. Okay? Go and bath. Go and floss your teeth more frequently. Invest in a good perfume that will be your personal staple. All right? Put it on your wish list if you have to. At this point of recording, we are like 3 months away from Christmas. So there is time to put a good perfume within a reasonable price point on your wish list and let that be your perfume. Try and stay away from cheap smelling perfume or drugstore perfume. I know we all have that nostalgic bond to Britney Spears' Midnight Fantasy, but please save that for the days when you're hanging out with your friends or you're just sort of going to the gym. If you're trying to be in spaces where you want to be opening yourself up to meeting people who might take you seriously, especially in dating, wear a serious perfume, okay? But I don't want to make this too much about having to spend all this money to look and smell good. It's just about refining what you already have. So same thing as, you know, if you're going to environments where you want to meet more men, maybe you're going to like networking events or you're going to bars on your own to just have a drink, but you're in an area where you're more likely to meet certain types of people. You know, if you're going to be having your nails on show, even if your nails aren't painted, make sure that they're just filed and your fingers look clean, like, because you're going to be holding your drink. You just want to look put together, because put together people notice when other people are not put together. And if you want to be dating men who are gonna take you out to places with them and bring you into their world and put you on to things and invest in you, they would want to see that you're investing in yourself, because that sets a precedent for how they should be expected to treat you. This is another thing of raising your self-esteem. Giving yourself the treatment that you would already want from someone else so that you're used to it. That's why I strongly believe in going to nice places on your own first, so that if someone was to suggest you go there together, you're not like a deer in the headlights. So for example, right, you remember how I said you should be lying to men? Let's go back to lying to men briefly, because this is important context. Let's say a guy on a dating app asks you out on a date and he suggests, finally it's happened for you. Someone has suggested a really nice place. Let's say they suggested Sexy Fish. Sexy Fish is a nice bar / restaurant that I like to go to sometimes. When I used to go out on my own to just go to bars and explore Mayfair a bit, this would have been 2019, back when I had a lot more time. Oh my goodness, I miss those days. I miss her. Back in 2019, I used to go to Mayfair and just explore these bars on my own, because I wanted to just see what was out there and put myself in environments that are beyond my comfort zone. So Sexy Fish was a bar that I liked. I just like how it looks. I like their cocktails. When I have been on a date there, I like the food. But what I did was, I went to Sexy Fish on my own maybe 3 times over the span of 2 months. So eventually, when someone asked me out on a date, it was either that they suggested Sexy Fish. This is on a dating app. It was either that they suggested Sexy Fish, or I picked Sexy Fish out of 2 suggestions that they made. Because I always make guys suggest places they have in mind, because that's a way for me to see what their taste is. So let's say a guy is talking to me on a dating app. By the way, I'm not on dating apps anymore. So if you see a dating app profile that has my face, it ain't me. I mean, you're less likely to see it if you're a woman though, because it's mainly men that would have. Anyway, back when I used to be on dating apps, when the conversation's going well, at some point he's going to ask you out on a date. He might ask you, when are you free, or something along those lines, and then you might say something like, well, maybe I have some free time coming up, but it depends on what you have in mind though. I can make myself free if it sounds enticing, And then he might say something like, oh, have you been to XYZ bar, or have you been here before? And then you might be like, oh, great taste. I've been to this one, but I haven't been to this one, so I'm curious about this one that I haven't been to. So, you're giving him the impression that you're not new to this, you're true to this, baby, because, it's not a bad thing if someone invites you to go somewhere that you've never been. I just think that if people are inviting you to certain environments of a particular nature, it's good to familiarize yourself with places like that by going on your own, so that even if you go to that bar in future, it's not your first time there, and it's easier for you to lie and say that, men you've dated in the past used to take you there, even though you took yourself there. Because remember, this is about packaging and branding yourself as somebody who is not being taken for idiot by men. Yeah? When you tell men your truth and be like, oh, all I've ever known is men trotting over me, and all I've ever known is men taking advantage of me. My whole life story is just being this sad, discarded woman who just wants to be loved. Yeah, I've never been taken to a nice place before. Yeah. This is like a Make-A-Wish type thing right now for me. I didn't even know this would be my life. I can't believe someone has finally taken me to a nice place. How do you think that man's going to see you? Quick guess. How do you think that man's going to see you? Do you think he's going to respect you and be like, wow, this woman is already used to a particular lifestyle, or always being treated well, let me just make sure that I meet that standard and go above and beyond? Or is he going to think, oh, she's used to accepting crumbs, so I don't even have to try hard. I'd have to try hard at all, because any little thing I do will impress her at this point. She's so used to getting rubbish thrown at her that I can throw glittery poo-poo at her and she'll be good with it. That's why you got to be careful what you reveal. So that's why you have to lie to men. Ethical lying, okay? And this is another thing with raising your self-esteem. What I was talking about with, stop feeling like you have to be this truthful good girl all the time. It's clearly not serving you, okay? So when it comes to taking yourself to places, this is off the back of the talking point of treating yourself in a way that you want men to treat you, so that you're already used to it by the time the treatment arrives. Because when you act like you're used to something, it subconsciously creates a desire for the person who's giving you that treatment to continue giving it to you, because they know that you're used to it and they have to maintain that if they want to be around you, because that's all you've ever known. So you pretend that this is the life you've already known, and it becomes the life you will know for the foreseeable. It's not about, oh, but that's not genuine. Okay, so what? Why does it have to be genuine? You're putting your priorities in the wrong place. There's a time and place for genuine. There's a time and place for that. Yeah? Because best believe the reason why accountants exist is so that they can help you to pay less tax. Like, that's essentially the whole point. Like, you're paying someone to help you work around a system so that you don't have to pay as much tax, because tax can be burdensome depending on your income. I'm not saying that that's lying. It's not lying, but it is an economical way of manipulating the truth. So the same thing applies when you're dating men. Start creating a character profile for the woman you aspire to be, and start method acting her whole life story until it becomes you. Like, I'm talking, you've been given the Hollywood blockbuster role of your life on some Heath Ledger shit. Rest in peace, Heath Ledger, yeah. I hate that his role as Joker intertwined that much of his life. And at the same time, he's a great example of what I'm trying to reference here in method acting, i.e., live the role. Live the role. We're lucky that the role we're living is a good role, a fun role. It doesn't have to be a role that involves being a character that deals with depression and has a manic sense of humor like the Joker. Instead, you're creating a character that isn't this fairy tale, but it's just a higher octave of you if you could just get your shit together. That's all she is. So at some point, you have to create that character, and method acting who she is means, yes, putting yourself in environments that she would be in, because you're carrying out research. You see, change the way you view it. When you're going to these bars on your own and you're scared because you have social anxiety and because you're an introvert and because you're not used to these environments, don't see it as, oh, I'm going on a date by myself to go and take myself out and I have to enjoy this. Just see it as, I'm going to go carry out some research. Yes, this is research. This is research for the character who I'm method acting on behalf of. Yes. I want to see how this character will behave when she's put in this kind of environment. And based on her character profile, she is supposed to be a woman who, despite having social anxiety, knows how to allocate her energy to her own benefit. Because look, I know that I come across very, very extroverted because I'm a very social person, i.e. like the work I do involves me being around people. But I'm very self-preserving. Like, I enjoy it when I can just be at home and stick rhinestones onto things for 4 hours straight. I enjoy it when I'm at home and I can just like watch 3-hour-long YouTube videos on why the hip hop industry is falling apart. Like, that's literally me. I'll be at home just loving being at home, yeah? So it's like, if you're an introverted person, talking isn't really your thing. This is why it's good to like write down key questions that you like asking people that will always get a response from them. So my favorite questions to ask people, no matter what environment I've met them in, club or not, I'm talking just like I'm sat next to someone at a bus stop, or I'm at a networking event, or I've been introduced by a friend to their friend, and the friend who introduced us both has just gone to the toilet and hasn't come back for another 10 minutes, and it's just two of us in the room now. How do I fill that emptiness and at the same time get to actually know that person? Questions you can ask people. What's one thing you wish more people knew about you? I love asking that question because it gives people an opportunity to like think about something nice they want to say about themselves, or it gives them an opportunity to think about something that they haven't had a chance to think about before, and it makes you stand out to them. What's one thing you wish more people knew about you is a great question you can ask someone on a date. It's a great question you can ask someone if you strike a conversation with them at the bar. There are strategic ways to start conversations with people without coming across desperate or like you're approaching a man. So, for example, let's say you're at a bar on your own and there's like maybe a man sat next to you. Don't even bother checking for the wedding ring. Like the wedding ring gonna be that girl. Look, majority of customers in the strip club are married men. So look, forget about the wedding ring. You're sat next to somebody, and it's a man. Maybe he looks a little older. You're here. The bar staff have given you a menu. You're looking through the menu. Maybe you already know what you want to drink, but to start conversation, especially if you've already made eye contact accidentally with the person sat next to you, that's a great way to just like, hey, I don't know if you've been here before, but I'm new here. Is there a particular cocktail you might recommend? Because you're giving me the vibe of someone who might like something sweet, or am I wrong? Like, you just start a conversation because then there's room for them to say something like, I'm not really into sweet drinks. I like old fashioned. I really hate old fashioned. I don't know why men like drinking old fashioned. But old fashioned is it like a whiskey? I don't know what it is, but men be liking that shit. No, it's not a cocktail though. But it just gives room for a conversation to start, but it doesn't come across as you flirting. You're just asking for help. That's essentially what you're doing. You're just asking for help. Like, what would you suggest I drink? And then obviously you've got like an innocent smile on your face. You're speaking slowly. No, none of this high-pitched, fast talking. Confidence comes across when you are speaking slowly and clearly, and you're not over-explaining things. Just slow and clear communication with a smile on your face. You turn to this guy, hey, I'm new here. This is my first time in this club or in this bar. Have you had any of the cocktails on this menu? Which one would you recommend? You're giving me the vibe of someone who might like this one because it's got lime in it. That might be a wild guess though. What do you think? Kiki. And then he might be like, let me have a look. I mean, I've tried this one before. What kind of flavors do you like? Are you more into sweet things? Then you might be like, yeah, I do like me something that tastes like maybe cranberry, something sweet. Then he'll be like, okay, get this one. And then you can be like, okay, let's hope I like it, you know? And then, I don't know, maybe he might buy you the drink, maybe he might not, but that's fine. He doesn't need to buy you the drink. It's just more about just getting yourself out of your comfort zone of being introverted. Just try and start small conversations with people that don't have to end in anything. You know, your drink might arrive. You might even cheers him. He might need to leave in the next 5 minutes, but then he'll just tell you to have a nice day. You tell him to have a nice day. You're on your way. He's on his way. You know, or it could be that a conversation starts from there. And that's when you get to ask things like, what's one thing you wish more people knew about you? And then like ways to subtly flirt. Oh my God, listen, this is why I'm glad that I spent a lot of time working on the cerebral part of myself, and then the visual sort of aesthetic side of me was developed much later in my life. Because I just learned how to like talk to people, like asking people things, but subtly flirting. I don't like to be direct with my flirting. In the offline outside world, there's ways to flirt with men, but still come across really innocent. So let's say we're using this same guy who we're sticking to the example of you asked him to help you pick a cocktail. The cocktail he helped you pick has now arrived. You've done your little cheers. You've taken a sip. You're like, oh, I like this. Wow, you have really good taste. Who are you? I need to know more about you, because the fact that you picked this particular cocktail and I happen to like it. Friend, you're my friend now. You know, a little fun possession play. You know, you're my friend now. You have to be my new friend now. And then you can introduce yourself. So I might be like, I go by Gina. Or like, my name is Gina. What's your name? I'll be like, my name is Keith. Oh my God, Keith. Okay, Keith. Keith with the cocktails. Like, make a joke. Have fun with it. Keith, what's one thing you want me to know about you? Aside from the fact that you're good at picking cocktails for strangers. You know, stroking the ego, but making him talk about himself. Let him talk, let him talk, let him talk. He might ask you the same thing. What's one thing you'd like me to know about you, Gina? One thing I'd like you to know about me, Keith, is... I'm a woman of many talents. He gonna be like, what talents? Or he might want to just, he might be curious about those talents. Obviously, he's gonna be like, what talents do you have? Well, that's for me to know, for you to find out. But I'm not trying to make it too sexual. Like, it doesn't have to be sexual for the flirting to be effective. It's more just creating mystery, but still being friendly and approachable and charismatic and innocent and playful. And then you could say something that's slightly mildly flattering, like, this is my first time in this bar and I'm happy I've met you today. You got good energy, you know? Just flirting in a light manner. Light flirting. Giving him the impression that, you know, he's good vibes, he's good energy. People like hearing that they've got good energy. Makes them want to give you more of that good energy. If he has time and he's staying, a conversation will happen. He might offer to buy you another drink. If you genuinely did like that cocktail, you might ask him to get you that one again. And then you start to find out more about what he does. If the conversation gets to a place where he asks for your number, personally, I wouldn't give my number. You'd be surprised, like, no matter how well and unique your conversation is with someone at a bar, like, a lot of men have had multiple conversations with women that have gone in this direction where they end up getting her number. Like, a lot of men are just collecting numbers, okay? I don't give out my number unless... I'll be like, you need to give me 3 reasons why I should give you my number. Like, make him work for that number, because he will value that number and he'll actually make use of it, and you actually get to see like how far he's willing to go to jump through the hoop you've laid in front of him. Men should be jumping through hoops for you. Good. Because that's the answer. Because anyway, when you make him tell you 3 reasons why you should give him your number, one of those reasons better be because I want to take you out, because I want to see you again. You know, it's fine if he says you're beautiful. That's nice. I need to hear something along the lines of him wanting to have future involvements with me, especially if I've gauged from the conversation that this guy's got money. The thing is, yeah, when you don't have high self-esteem, you fear that like every guy is a catch, and if you lose him, then you've lost the chance to find love. That's just not how it works. No man is a loss. Every man has to be put to the test. Okay? On some Takeshi's Castle shit, yeah? Your pussy is the grand prize. Yes, he must jump through the foam bubble door to get through to your pussy. Yes, he must walk the silver tightrope and land in a ball pit if he falls. Yes, he must play the game of running through doors that are either gonna swing through or be fake doors that are actually he's gonna have to do the whole Takeshi's Castle circuit for your heart. Good. If you are a 90s baby / millennial, then you will know what Takeshi's Castle is. If you don't know what Takeshi's Castle is, I fear you may be too young for this podcast, but it's okay. Because if you're here, that means that you're going to be learning things that will get you through your 20s with a calm breeze. You will float through your 20s like a supervillain, and I'm happy for you if that's you. But if you do know Takeshi's Castle, please spud me, my fellow pensioner. Anyway, he better run through that whole Takeshi's Castle circuit and win first place for your heart. That's the hoop jumping I'm talking. Because once you say to him, you need to give me 3 reasons why I should give you my number, He's going to be like, damn it, I didn't impress her enough in that conversation. Well, I'm going to try again. Because men love a challenge. Men love suffer and challenge. I know it sounds counterintuitive because as women, we don't love suffer and challenge. We love ease and comfort. But men love suffer and challenge, especially when there's wickedness added. Do you know that? I know that on the internet, they're saying the opposite because they want to mentally prime you to be easily taken advantage of. Because the more agreeable you are to men, the more they'll get what they want from you. But the truth is, they don't respect you when you give them what they want with no pushback, no papa, no hassle. You need to give them measure for measure. And the wickedness I'm talking about is like just treating them how they treat you. Honestly, they see it as wickedness. But me, I like to always go above and beyond the brief, take the wickedness to new heights. And by taking the wickedness to new heights, sometimes it's just about like being a bit stubborn and just not doing things in the way that your immediate instinct wants to do it. Because sometimes your instinct is still residue of patriarchy. And that residue looks like, oh, I don't want to ignore him for too long. He's going to think I hate him. No, he's not going to think you hate him. He's talking to someone else. Or I don't want to be mean to him by making him come up with 3 reasons why I should give him my number. How are you being mean to him? He's a stranger. For all you know, he could be a human trafficker. He could be a sexual abuser. He could be a married man who is looking for somebody to cheat on his wife with tonight. He could be somebody who doesn't live up to his words. He could be anything. So the more layers you put between yourself and him, the more work he has to do to prove himself. I think strangers should be proving themselves. You don't just be letting strangers into your home, do you? Well, the same thing applies to your body because your body is your home. It's different if you are in the sex industry and you are a full service sex worker. Where that's different is you're charging people for access. So that's a whole different thing to being a normal civilian woman who is just meeting men and seeing where things go. You need to be really careful. Like, you need to make sure that you're leading with what do you want? What do you want? Because men know what they want. Men always know what they want. They make it clear what they want. We all know what they want. What do you want though? Have you had time to think about what you want? Because you can't, I don't know if it's useful to just want a man to be there. It's more about what do you want your life to look like and how can that man facilitate you getting there? What do you want? What do you want? See that scene in The Notebook where Ryan Gosling is asking, what do you want? What do you want? And then she's like, I don't know. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want your life to look like? Because me, I've said this before on the podcast and I'll say it again just to reiterate. I know exactly what I want my life to look like. If that man can't get me there, we can't really go that far together. You know, you can be my friend. You can be my person I say hello to in the road. I can greet you good morning, but we're not fucking. Or move your hand. Shift, move back. Have respect. Okay? Like, I'm not your mate. I don't know you like that. I'm not pressed. I'm actually not pressed for sex because I know that sex is a powerful bargaining tool. Okay? Sex is a way to advocate for yourself and assert leverage. Yeah? As a woman. If you have low self-esteem, your boundaries will be very malleable. And you will constantly feel like you've killed someone for having boundaries. That's why when I don't necessarily think that you have to like completely stop dating if you have low self-esteem. I think you can work on your self-esteem while dating, but you kind of need to get used to the reality that like not every date that goes well means you're gonna leave with a boyfriend. Like I've been on many dates in many nice places, yeah. Listen, I've been on dates where, and none of these guys are guys who know like me as Slumflower. They just see me as a beautiful woman on a dating app that they met. There was one guy, he sent an Uber to get me, because what I do is, sometimes if I'm really feeling like in the mood, I'll get a guy to send me an Uber, but I would choose a postcode or a street that's like maybe 3 streets down from where I live. And where I live already is quite obscure. Like, it's hard to find. Like, delivery drivers are always getting lost. Uber Eats always getting lost. My McDonald's is always cold from having to go and rescue the delivery person downstairs. Like, I'll be going through it. Anyway, I still will choose a pickup destination that's like maybe 3-4 streets away from where I live. And there's been times when, I get to the date, it's at a nice restaurant, like, like Michelin star type shit. And for whatever reason, like, I just feel like the guy's energy is just a bit like, I'm not feeling this. There's been times when I have walked out on a date. Like, I pretended like I was going to the toilet and I just never returned. Did I feel bad? No. Let me tell you why I don't feel bad when I walk out on a date by pretending I'm going to the toilet. Because men will convince you that they want to have a relationship with you so they can have sex with you, and they'll still ghost you once they get the sex they wanted from you. So, #equality. Sometimes 2 wrongs do make a right, because now it feels right to give you your own medicine, bitch. But I do think that if you are working on raising your self-esteem while dating, it's also about not taking men seriously, girl. A lot of people are taking men too seriously, and that's why they don't sleep well at night. You're taking these men too seriously. What I mean is, if a man tells you that he's in love with you and he's never had these feelings before, even if you just met, oh, really? Oh, that's nice. Find a diplomatic way to respond without saying the same thing, because he's saying that to get a reaction from you, because when you say it back to him, you probably actually mean it, but he doesn't mean it. He's just saying it. He knows that saying to you, I've never felt this way about anyone before, he knows that that's going to make you be like, oh my God, maybe this is intense. Maybe this is going somewhere. Oh my God, like, this could be something. So you're now saying, oh yeah, I've never felt this way about someone either. Boom, he's got you. No, there are diplomatic ways to handle that information that he's sharing with you. When he's like, oh, I've never felt this way about someone before. Oh, do you know what? One thing I like about you is how comfortable I feel around you. I really feel like I can just be myself around you, and I just think there's no one like you, and I'm really enjoying getting to know you. And I feel like with each day that passes, I'm just getting closer and closer to you. And I'm deeply enjoying the trust that we're building. Like, you've still emoted, but you're talking around it. Like, you're using words like enjoying getting to know, getting closer and closer. I see us, become, like, you're not saying I'm also in love with you. You don't need to do that. Just because he's expressed something doesn't mean you need to express the same thing. Another way to raise your self-esteem while dating is to get my book, Pocket Power from the Slumflower. I'm actually being serious. So I have a new book called Pocket Power from the Slumflower, coming out in the UK November 2nd, and in the States it comes out a week later. And Pocket Power from the Slumflower is a pocket-sized quote book. I say pocket-sized, but it will fit into the mini Telfar comfortably, just for scale. Or a clutch bag with a handle type of energy. But Pocket Power from the Slumflower is a quote book full of quotes by me that I have intentionally created to be used in scenarios like what I'm talking about now, where let's say you're on your way to a date and maybe you're on the train or you're in the Uber, whatever your mode of transport, you find yourself feeling somewhat doubtful, somewhat out of nowhere insecure and unsure about yourself. You don't know where these feelings have come from. You then reach into your bag, your mini towel fleazy, and you pick up Pocket Power from the Slumflower, and you just open a random page and you read a quote, and the quote resets your mind. The quote puts you back in your place of being the queen, and it reminds you that the date is not about what if he doesn't like me. No, the date is about let's hope I like him. He better wish and pray on the stars and the seven seas that I like him, because I am the prize here, not him. That is the level of self-esteem that Pocket Power from the Slumflower will instill you with, and it will be available across the world in all good bookstores, including Barnes & Nobles, Foyles, Waterstones, and Amazon from November 2nd, 2023. That was so fun. But I'm actually being serious. Like, I care about the work that I do because I've lived this. I understand what it's like to have low self-esteem and still want to be treated well. I don't think you have to be at the final destination of perfection in order to get what you deserve. I think it's about taking little risks and realizing that the risks actually create results that will surprise you. Sometimes you need to gamble with men. It's like the gamble isn't about gambling with your mental health or your self-worth, which is what most women are doing right now when they are gambling in the game of love and hoping that a man's going to love them out of their insecurities. No, the gamble is pull a wild card from the deck. And that wild card is you behaving like the character that you imagine yourself to already be. Have no fear, because dating is an experiment. Dating is play. Dating is research. Men are not serious people. This is a circus. So have fun. You might as well. Because when you take men too seriously, that's where you end up getting yourself hurt. Because when you take men too seriously, you overinvest. And usually when you're the one that's overinvested, you leave that relationship feeling like you still need closure and you still need revenge and you still need something from them. You need them to come and realize what they lost. You only feel like that when you overinvest. I've noticed when you overinvest is when you start to feel like you're owed something, or you feel like something was taken from you, or you feel like you were taken advantage of to some degree because you overinvested. But when you start to pull back and let men court you and not be reactive, that includes not being reactive even when things are going well. So sometimes like a man will do something flirty or cute, right? Because it's always the beginning stage when things are best, because that's when they want to get you loose and comfortable. They want to get you all warmed up and loosey-goosey. Because even when you want to do wild things with your body, you need to get warm first. You need to warm up so that your muscles are looser, so you don't pull a muscle. The same way when men want to get into your head, they're going to get you nice and loose, yeah? They're going to flatter you with the compliments. They're going to tell you they've never met anyone like you before. They're going to start sending you random songs. They're going to start voice noting you out of the blue. And then when the primer has set, that's when they start doing the disappearing act. Or that's when they'll take it up a notch. Shift gear, add some nitro, fast and furious style. Next thing you know, you're fucking and sucking, because that's what he wanted. He's created an environment for that to happen in a foolproof way. 100% success rate. He knows because he's done it several times before. But you get to pull a wild card and be like, actually, just because he's being nice doesn't mean that I need to fall for him. He's being nice to me because he's supposed to be nice to me, because he probably wants to sleep with me. I'm not angry at that. I'm sexy. So usually people want to sleep with you when you're sexy. That's all right. That's okay. But it's about creating new expectations of men who want to sleep with you, and learning how to bend the situation in the direction that will suit you, because he's bending it in a direction that will suit him, and he ain't going to sleep at night feeling like a bad person for doing that. Meanwhile, you be feeling bad about saying you didn't like the flowers he sent you. Why is he sending you Tesco flowers? No, you can't even send Tesco flowers. You have to give them because Tesco flowers are cheap. Why is he buying you Tesco flowers? He should, if he wants to be buying you flower, M&S is a good start. I like M&S flowers. Okay? Because when someone gets you M&S flowers, it means they thought about what they're doing. It's different, yeah, if your friend gets you Tesco flowers. Listen, there are levels for everything, and the levels change depending on what the intention is with the person that you're dealing with. When it comes to men, you have different expectations of them than you have from the women in your life. Okay? I reserve all of my leeway and elbow room for the women in my life. I don't need the women in my life to take me to Hakkasan. I don't need the women in my life to, like, I don't know, take me shopping and give me money when I'm bored. Okay, that's what I expect from the men who want to be fucking me. But the women in my life, it's like, it's a different kind of love. It's a different kind of understanding. It's a different kind of nuance, because they actually see me, they get me, they understand me, and I accept whatever they want to give to me. With men, I don't accept whatever you want to give to me. I'm not always going to like it. There has to always be something that you don't like. There has to be something so that he can go and improve. Okay? You're helping him. You know, you're actually improving his life by giving him something to go and work on. You're doing him a favor. That's the most hilarious and ironic thing about all this. Like, you're here feeling bad about telling him you don't like the flowers he sent you, so you're pretending to like it. That to me is the same as pretending to enjoy the sex you're having. We don't need to pretend when we don't like things. It's like, I don't know, he hands you a little gift bag and there's lingerie in there, and maybe there's a perfume in there. You might really like the perfume. Genuinely, you'd be like, oh, I love this. I love this perfume. You have got, you've got taste. You've been paying attention. I love that. Peck on the cheek. And then you look at the lingerie, you'd be like, do you know what? I like this, but I would have loved it if it was maybe a balconette bra instead of a plunge bra. You're not criticizing him. You're not saying he's a bad person. You're just saying what would have made you happier, because that's your truth. So now he knows that you prefer balconette bras to plunge bras, which actually I do prefer balconette bras to plunge bras, because I've got 32G boobs, right? So plunge bras just look like, I don't know how to explain it. They look like granny bras on me because the cup is so big. But balconette bras kind of make your boobs look smaller. Not smaller, but like, they just make your boobs just look cuter because it's like less fabric. Anyway, don't mind me going into bra detail. But what I'm saying is, you're giving him more information that he needs to make you feel happier and sexier, because this is lingerie we're talking about. And in turn, that will pay off, because you get to see what he's like when you tell him that he's done something that he could have done better, and then he goes to go and rectify the problem. That's now a whole new trait about him that you get to have the opportunity to possibly fall in love with. So he benefits from you saying, actually, no, I didn't like that. He benefits from you having standards high enough to not feel bad about reinforcing them. Not every man will meet your expectations, though. This is another thing. You could be dressed to the nines, face beat down, hair laid, heels on, dress snatched, yeah? And you might go on a date with a guy, and you eloquently, charismatically, confidently list your standards or you carry yourself in a way that clearly communicates what kind of life that you expect and enjoy, and he's not on it. He might try and argue you out of it, or for whatever reason, there's just not that compatibility. Okay, that's fine. Accept the incompatibility and move on with your life. The incompatibility is not a reflection on what you deserve. The incompatibility does not mean that you're asking for too much from men in general. And this is never going to work. Oh my God, I knew it all along. The incompatibility just means that that man cannot provide what you need. That's the whole point of having standards. If you have standards, fewer people are going to be approaching you. Fewer people are going to be able to date you. I saw a quote on, was it Twitter? It was from a man, of course, and it was something along the lines of, if she's too smart, the relationship won't work. And I'm like, see, men be telling on themselves all the time. And that's how you know they're not even intelligent people, because you're not even meant to say that out loud. Like, babe, come on. What do you mean if she's too smart, the relationship won't work? Well, duh. If she's too smart, the relationship won't work if she's dating someone who has the intention to try and outsmart her and take advantage of her. Correct, Einstein. Well done. But that gives you quite a clear picture of how men see you. It's very obvious that their intention is to take advantage of you. And this goes back to what I was saying about, I know that because I have this podcast and because I am very opinionated and outspoken and articulate and loved by many women who see truth and relatability in what I'm saying, a lot of men are put off. Like, this is like a big ick for a lot of men, like being not just seen but also heard. Most men expect for you to be seen and never heard. There's this one guy who, he's been flirting with me for a very long time, yeah. He's a musician. He makes great music. I love his music. Yeah. I've been a pole dancer for a while. March of 2024 will make it 2 years of pole dancing. But I used to frequently dance to his music when I'd pole dance, and I'd post it online. And if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you will know that oftentimes when I pole dance, I like to tag the musician when I use their song on my story, because I understand how music marketing works. I understand how supporting creatives works. And I also understand how it works when someone who has a different audience and network and profile to you reposts you. You know, it's like a cross-pollination of many things. So obviously, when I'm sharing their music on my story, people discover their music. When I tag them, they have the chance to repost me dancing to their music. So it makes them look good, because it's like, oh, people are dancing to my music. Can you see? Can you see? And also the person dancing to their music is a public figure, being me. But then on the flip side of that, another benefit for me is that all their followers, not all, but whoever liked the video on their story might come and have some curiosity towards me and come look at me, and maybe they might follow me, they might just know of me. So it's an interesting way to like market yourself as a woman. And I've made quite a few friends from doing that, including this particular musician guy who's been flirting with me for like a year now, but he's unserious because I've noticed that he only ever likes my pictures or my content when it's me just like looking good. So like if I'm looking sexy, like if it's a nice picture of me, or if I'm pole dancing, that's the only time he engages with me. Like whether it's fire emojis or him sending me a DM to say I look hot. But when I post my podcast, crickets. Nothing. Silence. He's watching. I can see him watching my stories, but he's quiet. Nothing. And I suspect that the reason why is it's similar to the tweet that the guy made that I saw a couple of days ago, where that random Twitter user, male, said, if she's too smart, the relationship won't work. It reminded me of the guy who, yes, this guy's been flirting with me for a year, watching me, but he only ever engages when I'm seen, not when I'm heard. He can't grapple with the side of me that's intellectual because he knows I've already outsmarted him. He knows that I've caught on to what he's doing, even though he hasn't even attempted anything yet. Like, this guy hasn't even tried to take me out or anything. But I don't think he would try because he already knows how I think. He already knows what I'd expect from him. So as a guy, if you've been following a woman for a while and she's very, very verbal about what she thinks of things, then you're going to build up a character profile of her. And you use that to determine how you should treat her or how well you should treat her. Which is why I think as a woman, yeah, if you're trying to raise your self-esteem, have that journey quietly. Like, unless you're actively making a podcast or work about this, don't talk about your journey online anywhere, because you're just giving men too much. You're giving men too much insight into how your mind works. For me, the reason why I'm okay with men knowing how my mind works if they follow me on social media is because I don't use social media to meet men that I might be interested in dating. Once I know that a man follows me online and he sees my work, he's written off. Like, he's not a bad person. He can be my friend. But 9 times out of 10, I'd go as far as saying 9.9 times out of 10, the chances are I'm not dating him, because most men, when they see a woman like me doing what I'm doing, their desire will now be to try and overpower me or to try and see where they can find a loophole. They don't want to be the ideal guy that my work points to. They don't want to be a good guy. They just want to be the one that's like the exception. They want to be able to say, like, yeah, she's a hard gal. She's doing all this hard exterior online, but the reality is she was a big softie with you. You should have seen how she was crying for me. That's what they want. It's satisfying. It's satisfying for men to break strong women. That's why I don't feel any type of way about sharing what I share on the public domain, because these men will never stand a chance with me anyway. The only way you can stand a chance is send me some money. Then maybe I can give you a bit more attention. But I don't fear any guy knowing how I think, because if I allow you to see how my mind works, it's because I don't want to date you. There's men that I've had, encounters with where my social media was never involved. Like, there's been times when I've had subs who, like, I've met these subs at particular events that were designated for, dom and sub activity. And I've given them my email address, literal email address. And then maybe, like, this one sub I used to have, gave him my email address to communicate with me. And he was respectful and he used just that to communicate with me. And then he got curious and I think he searched for my name on FetLife. So my FetLife profile is the same as the email address I gave him, which was fine because my FetLife profile isn't anything that's like private or, oh my God, why did you look for that? Like, it's fine. FetLife is where you're supposed to find the events to go to anyway. So eventually we were inevitably going to come across each other on FetLife, but he just was curious. So he found it. And then when he messaged me on FetLife, he let me know that he found me on here and he hopes it's okay that he's talking to me on here. Like, he was respectful, but there was never, he doesn't even know what I do on social media. He doesn't know. He's not in that sort of, his interests don't lie in my domain. Our worlds don't cross. Outside of him having been a sub for me for a few months, our worlds don't cross or overlap. Like, he's literally just some any white guy. And that's how I like it. When I meet men in certain environments, because I've met them in a way that has created enough of a connection for me to not need to have to like keep on building. You know, when you meet a guy on social media, you gotta like keep on building this sort of like rapport with them based on some flirting and some, you know, all this little stuff, liking people's pictures. When you meet someone in real life, you cut through all of that noise. Once they like you, they like you. So whether they discover your social media or not, it makes no difference because you've already established a dynamic with them. That's how I like to do things with men. That's why I don't meet men through social media. That's why I don't care if men don't like me on the internet. I'm not dating none of you. None of you are giving me money. Like, you're not the guys who give me what I want. So I don't care if you know exactly what the steps are that women are taking to outsmart you, because men are not smart enough to even believe that women are smarter than them. So most men will assume that women who think like me are in the minority, because that's the truth. We are in the minority. And I wish that was not the case. If more women stopped feeling so bad about like disappointing men by not liking their stupid little attempts to get your pussy, if more women recognize that like you don't need to work that hard for a man to be attracted to you, like men will literally nut over ankles. Like you need to go outside more and you realize that like you're putting so much effort into the wrong thing. If I were you and I was a woman who was just trying to rebuild my self-esteem from scratch, I'll be focused on mental refinement. I'll be focused on building a fortified framework in my mind, yeah, that will allow me to remain mentally strong. The looks, you can always sort that out. Like, as long as you're a woman, men are always going to want to be around you. Like, I've seen 60-year-old women get married. Like, men are always going to want what a woman has. Yeah, so don't worry about that. You need to focus on building up a mental fort that cannot be penetrated by men's attempts to take you out of your character. Because once they're taking you out of your character, they've got you. And it's like another thing as well. I think I want to make this my last point. This is probably the longest episode I've ever done in the history of episodes. I think it's about learn to stop thinking you're the exception. Okay? Everybody thinks that they're the exception. And that's what's shooting everyone in the foot. Like, whilst we can all sit here and agree that most men are users and most men just want to have sex with you, and they're lying when they say they want a relationship, and they're lying when they say they think that you're their soulmate, people still think that they're the exception though. Like, everyone still thinks, yeah, men lie, but not to me. Men just want to sleep with women, but no, I know he wants something more with me because he told me. Men have multiple baby moms because each of their baby moms at one point were told by that man that she's the one he wants to spend the rest of his life with. And then he just said that, and then he had a baby with her, and then he lied and he left. But with me, it'll be different though, because my pussy's different. We can acknowledge pussy is pussy. Yeah, but like my pussy's different though, because my pussy's like the reason why he keeps coming back. Because my pussy is so good. Like, when you think that you're the exception in the wrong situations, that's what keeps you stuck as well. If you think that you're the exception, then you need to start demanding exceptional treatment. You can't just think you're the exception and then hope that the situation will change by itself. That's not how it works. I'm so sorry. I regret to inform you that ain't it. What is it is accepting the freedom of releasing the pressure to be the exception. It's so much easier. Oh, see, I'm just allergic to... Anyway. It's so much easier to accept that, you know what, men see women in the same way until I behave exceptionally, I'm not going to be the exception in his eyes. But for me to behave exceptionally, I'm going to have to take the path less traveled. The path less traveled is the path of being okay with disappointing a man by not giving him what he wants. The path less traveled is being okay with inconveniencing a man by putting your needs first. The path less traveled is being okay with having needs and being vocal about them and not caring if those needs make that man feel like he's not enough for you, because that's the whole point of having standards. Not everybody is gonna fit. Not everybody belongs here. Part of being the exception, if you're going to go down that mental route, is demanding exceptional treatment and walking away when you don't see that treatment. It is actually a lot harder to do life when you think you're the exception, as opposed to when you believe that, you know what, I'm not the exception, I'm part of the norm, and this person is going to treat me this way because that's what life has taught them, and this is what everyone has learned to accept. I don't have to take it personally, because you don't even know me personal enough for it to be personal. Like, I don't see myself as, how do I phrase it? It's like, I know that I'm an exceptional experience here. I'm a one-of-one experience on this planet. So is everyone else, right? So when I'm interacting with a man, I behave that way. And part of him picking up on that energy is my ability to withdraw from him when I'm not seeing what I want to see. I withdraw my energy when I ain't seeing what I want to see because I'm an exceptional being. You behave exceptionally if you want to be the exception. Not out here moving like, yeah, everyone's getting duped by men, but not me though, because I'm an exception. No, that's not how it works, girl. That's why you're stuck. So I think it's about stepping out of the comfort zone of what you already know and treating dating as play. Dating is play, okay? It's not serious. Try things out. Say shit that doesn't even sound like it's you and just see how men respond to it. You're probably not going to see that man again. And even if you do see him again, you're not stuck. You're not stuck in a restaurant. I don't know why people keep on saying this whole like, I really want to stop accepting walking dates, but I find restaurants too much pressure because I'm stuck. What are you? You're not stuck. You're mentally stuck. You've created your own prison. Are you handcuffed to the chair and table when you're in a restaurant? What restaurants do you guys be going to? Like, you're stuck. Is it an escape room that has food in it? Is that what you're mistaking for a restaurant? What do you mean I don't like going on dates, restaurants, because I'm stuck? Stuck where, girl? If you don't like the guy, you don't have to tell him you don't like him, you know? If you really, really want to be that nice person that you insist you are, that's why you're scared to be stuck, and you want to protect his feelings, act like you're going to the toilet and don't come back. He'll be fine, girl. He'll be fine, because even if you decided to play nice and sit through the experience that you're not enjoying, he probably would have still slept with you at some point because you're agreeable and you don't have any boundaries or standards and you think that you can fuck your way into being loved, and then he'll ghost you. Do you think he's going to feel bad about ghosting you after he told you he's looking for a relationship? So why are you feeling bad about doing the disappearing act at dinner? On a first date, for that matter. So if you're stuck accepting walking dates, it's because you think that's all you deserve. Again, changing your self-esteem is throwing yourself out of your comfort zone. Walking dates cannot be your comfort zone because walking isn't even a date. So you're already living in a delusional atmosphere. So just change your delusion to something else. You're already delusional as it is. So just make a new delusion. I think it's delusional to go outside and walk outside and call that a date. That's very delusional. So if we're going to be living in a delusional realm, then let's make new delusions. How about be delusional enough to go on dates with men and uphold a version of you that is a character you've made in your head who has XYZ standards and doesn't do XYZ until XYZ is done for her and is acting the hell out of this role. Yeah? I would just like to thank the Academy. Thank you to my acting agent. Thank you to my mentor. Thank you to my 5th grade drama teacher for believing in me. Wouldn't have made this role without you. When I got the script of playing the higher version of myself, at first, I was flabbergasted. I was like, I don't know, I'm not sure I can be her. She's like total opposite of me. But then, I did some method acting, threw myself into the environment that she would frequent. I was taking myself out. I was talking to men in ways I've never done so before. It felt very weird, but then at a certain point, it became normal. And then I just became her. And so, thank you for writing this character for me, God. Grateful to have played her. And I want to thank everybody, my family, for this award. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know I've got 1 minute left. Thank you to Josephine, Tristan, Samson, the sound engineers, Samantha in HR, Timothy, James. Girl, act the hell out of that role. Act the hell out of that role. Because nothing makes sense anymore anyway. You might as well. Since you're delusional enough to think walking is a date, be delusional enough to become an actress. Method acting, okay? You've been assigned a new character to play. Lucky for you, this character is a higher version of yourself. So you don't need to learn from scratch who she is. You just got a few notes that you need to incorporate, okay? A few things that might not feel natural to you because her lexicon is a little different. Her humor is a little different. It's more evolved and flavored and grown and confident. She dresses a little different. Yeah? She takes care of herself a little more often. She's kinder to herself when things don't work out with men because she knows she's not the issue. Most of the time when things don't work out with men, it's because you didn't give them the access that they wanted, not because you're not lovable. Yeah? So the role you've been assigned, you better get your Oscar, girl. Okay? SAG Awards are waiting for you. Okay? Don't shame your acting agent. Don't shame your manager. Don't shame your team. Okay? Put your enemies to shame. Because life is a what's that quote by Shakespeare? Life is a stage and we're all, I don't know the rest of it, but life is a stage, innit? We're all in our own little musical. We're all in our own little production. Yeah? Okay? Play the hell out of this character. Have fun. Men are unserious. Have fun. Stop taking every interaction with men too seriously. Stop treating it too preciously. It's not serving you. I hope that helps. I had so much fun recording this particular episode. This is probably the longest episode I've ever recorded. If you're one of the people that voted for this episode of raising your self-esteem while putting yourself out there, thank you for your vote. I'm looking forward to hearing more about what you guys would love to hear from me.